It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, I'm Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I am your host and game master, Tyler Hapney. I have dungeon mastered over 200 combined games of Dungeons and Dragons and Cyberpunk Red, and this podcast is a way for me to share my thoughts on the goings on the various communities and things that are happening, and maybe even some of the design choices that have been made along the way. So thank you very much for listening. And today we are going to talk, or circle back, I guess, to Baldur's Gate 3. Because as of the time of recording, which is, I believe, the 15th of April, I think patch 8 for Baldur's Gate 3 is dropping today. I'm not quite sure. But by the time this comes out, the patch will have dropped. And with it comes a little bit of content that I think we can get into. The new subclasses and what kinds of things are sort of going on there. Because not a lot of people might be familiar with how these subclasses play in the actual game. And are probably going to be experiencing these gameplay styles for the first time when they play patch 8 for Baldur's Gate 3. Also, they made some really cool choices on what to include, so I figured I'd just take this episode to kind of talk that over and sort of, dish out on some of my favorites among the selection. There are 12 new subclasses that you can play in Baldur's Gate 3 as of patch 8, which also adds things like crossplay and a whole bunch of other things. So really, it's the last big patch of the game, the final one, and I think it's probably the perfect final patch to kind of leave it off on. To be honest with you, it's I don't know, it's really interesting. They've left this game in such a really good condition. I think there's really no better time to get into Baldur's Gate 3, because I'm assuming they're probably going to have a sale on it either soon, or they might be having a sale on it now. I haven't checked personally. But yeah, please, if D&D interests you at all, check that out. Anyways, enough dishing about all of that. Let's get into the subclasses. So the first subclass is one of my favorites personally, College of Glamour. So College of Glamour is a bard subclass, and this one is particularly built around the fact that your bard is handsome or good looking. They have the ability to essentially influence the flow of combat. I'm not exactly sure if that translates to Baldur's Gate 3, but in D&D, you have the ability to essentially allow everyone to use their reaction to move, I believe it's up to 30 feet during a combat without invoking opportunity attacks, which is really good because you can basically reshuffle the entire battlefield because the College of Glamour used a bardic inspiration. If that's in Baldur's Gate 3, I would be so impressed. I definitely think I'm going to probably wind up doing another College of Glamour playthrough just to see how that goes. But I'm very excited in general just for the ability to play some of the very cool abilities with College of Glamour. It's always all about charms with Glamour, all about charming people. Maybe I think there's an anti-charm aspect of it too, but it's very, very social, I'd say, as a class. But even then, it's got a lot of combat capabilities. Path of Giants is a barbarian subclass. And this is one that I've actually had quite a bit of experience with. I've had one of my players in a long-term campaign played a Path of Giants barbarian. So the basic gist of Path of Giants is you get big, you get bigger, and you deal a little extra damage because of that extra strength and extra size. There's a lot more that goes into it. But the basic gist of the Path of Giants Barbarian is Barbarian get big, do a lot of damage, smash a lot of things. And I think that's really cool, especially if you do what my player did and put it on a Goliath. So someone who's already like 8 feet tall, maybe even getting up there to like towards 9, is now even bigger. It's very funny. Big thing gets bigger. But also, I think the opposite is true. A small thing getting bigger is also funny. Because I mean, we've seen from Dwergar, watching a dwarf go to something that's taller than you or about as tall as you is fascinating. So next up is for clerics, the death domain. This one is, of course, all about death. They get death domain gets access to a couple of necromancy spells, or it makes their abilities better. There's just quite a bit about death clerics. I've had another one in a long-term campaign that was almost essential to keeping the party alive in various different forms. But Death Domain, I personally think kind of similar to Grave Domain. I like Grave Domain, I think, just a little bit more. But Death Domain, also very cool. It says here that they also have apparently added a homebrew ability to explode corpses with Death Domain in Baldur's Gate 3. Now that I would be very interested to see. Next up is Circle of Stars. This one is fun. Circle of Stars druids have the ability to, as I understand it, summon stars. I've seen them used in quite a bit of fashion, but mostly to damage people. It says in Baldur's Gate 3, they actually get starry forms, which is, I don't know if that's something a Circle of Stars gets in base D&D. In fact, I don't think so at all, but I've never personally played Circle of Stars. It says Circle of Stars looks like it's gotten quite a bit of changes. You can choose between the Archer, Chalice, and Dragon. The Archer dealing radiant damage with astral arrows. Chalice is more for healing, and Dragon is allowing sort of a tank sort of build. Cool. I definitely don't think that's how it is in base game, so it looks like they've pretty much overhauled Circle of Stars entirely, which is okay. That's awesome. It sounds fun. Next up is Path of the Oath of the Crown, Paladin. This is, well, the basic gist of Oath of the Crown is you've sworn loyalty to some kingdom or other, which usually means you will swear to uphold their law no matter what, over, wherever you are. You're going to follow the laws of your kingdom. It really depends, but that is your oath, is stay lawful, which is going to be hard in a game like Baldur's Gate 3 because there's a lot of tempting ways to break the law in that game. It says that you will also have the ability to cast something called Divine Allegiance, absorbing their damage while restoring HP. So you will take damage, but they will restore HP, which is really cool. It sounds like they're definitely leaning a lot into homebrew to sort of accommodate for some of the, I guess, lesser sort of traits people get when they level up. Arcane Archer, this one's fun. It's Archer class that allows you to cast spells. Pretty much, it's a fighter class or a subclass, that's for sure. But it looks like about the same in Baldur's Gate 3. Who knows? Like I said, I have not played through this patch. I haven't even gone home and downloaded it yet, unfortunately. So this is all my own speculation, but I'm excited to get into it, and I hope you guys all are too. Drunken Master, this one's very fun. It's basically what it says on the tin. This is a monk subclass that is basically entirely built around being an alcoholic, drinking alcohol. And in game you can like stumble dodge attacks and stuff like that, and it's really cool. It looks like in the Baldur's Gate 3 they've changed it to something called Intoxicating Strike, which is interesting. Like, you make your targets drunk, and then that makes them susceptible to some of your other abilities, which I do not believe is how it works in 5e. So I'm realizing that they've made a lot of changes to these subclasses that I think will make them more fun as video games, to be honest with you. So I'm interested. Swarmkeeper. This one is, I don't think this is a base subclass for Ranger, but it is one of the more famous Ranger subclasses because this one is all about keeping swarms. It's a beekeeper, or a bug keeper, or something of that kind. For instance, the abilities I'm seeing here are Cloud of Jellyfish, Flurry of Moths, and Legion of Bees. I don't think those are abilities in 5e. However, they do sound very cool, and I guess you can have a swarm of jellyfish in a mostly land-based game, I do believe. I don't think there's any time you really spend underwater in Baldur's Gate 3, except for once, but that's getting into the late game. Swashbuckler Rogue, easily one of my, I think, the best subclasses for Rogue. This one in 5e is all about taking people on basically one-on-one. You get a bonus to your, all your stuff while you're one-on-one with someone. You can sneak attack people. It's very cool. Looks like Swashbuckler gets the ability to blind, disarm, and they get fancy footwork. So, every time you melee opponent and then back off, they cannot opportunity attack you, which is really good. Swashbuckler, very good rogue subclass. It looks like it's going to be just as good in Baldur's Gate 3. Shadow magic sorcerers, these are neat. They are, sorcerers that deal in shadow magic. Who could have guessed? It says here that in Baldur's Gate 3 they get superior dark vision, as well as shadow walk, which I do think is that in 5e? I'm almost positive that there's a form of that in 5e. I'm not quite sure if shadow sorcerers get it or not, but there's quite a bit here. Looks like Strength of the Grave is going to be an important buff for sorcerers. It keeps you from being downed, which is going to be very good for honor mode runs. So, next up, we only have 2 left here. We have Hexblade Warlock. Fantastic choice. Really, honestly, truly. I think everyone was kind of asking where these people were when release came, because Hexblade is easily one of the most popular Warlock subclasses, mostly because it's kind of broken, at least in 5e. I've had so many Hexblade Warlocks, and especially Hexblade Warlock multi-classes, in my games, that it's basically become a stereotype. Please, have mercy on your DM. Play something other than a Hexblade multi-class. Either go full Hexblade or just play something else if you're that guy. If you've never played a Hexblade in your life, I'd encourage you, go into it. But the Hexblade multi-classes are almost always built to cheese. And it's like, I don't know. If you're playing that type of game, that is cool. But sometimes you're not. That's obviously something to cover in Session 0, which we do. But sometimes that does not get through to people. And you wind up with someone who's built a Reddit build when the rest of your party is like not up to that level of power. I don't know. It creates an imbalance. Hexblade Warlocks are pretty great. These are Warlocks that emphasize using a blade. They're basically Warlock tanks. Not exactly tanks, I don't want to say, but you can make them that way, certainly, through multi-classing. In 5e, you can curse people with a Hexblade's Curse, and that gives you all sorts of abilities. Like, it heals you when you kill them, and it does all sorts of things that helps you sustain your character. Pretty awesome. Looks like in Baldur's Gate 3, maybe that's been peeled back a bit. I don't know. We'll have to find out, I suppose. I know I'm probably going to have to do a Hexblade Warlock playthrough. And then finally, the Wizard subclass, the Blade Singing Wizards. These are wizards that use swords. Much like Hexblade Warlocks, these are an entire class built around combat magic. So I'm assuming in Baldur's Gate 3 they're going to be made pretty good. If I remember, in 5e they're okay. I haven't had too many experience with Blade Singers. Even though Wizard is my favorite class, I've never gotten around to an actual proper Bladesinger. I have done a Swashbuckler Bladesinger multi-class before, and that actually worked out really well. It was definitely a bit of a complex build, though, so a bit of a late game, but it was pretty fun to play. Yeah, Bladesinger is going to be an interesting one to see. I'm going to have to get into that. But those are the 12 subclasses you can look forward to here in Baldur's Gate 3, Patch 8, the last one. It's going to be sad to see the support for this game end. I mean, I'm assuming they're probably going to have hot fixes for bugs and stuff, maybe. But, no major content or anything past this. They're moving on to the next game, which will not be D&D related at all. That's been confirmed. They're not doing any DLC for Baldur's Gate 3. It's done. They're after this, it's no more. And they're moving on to the next project, putting this one into the sunset. So, goodbye to future support for Baldur's Gate 3. I welcome whatever Larian does next, but for now, I think we can sit back and enjoy probably one of the best, or the best Dungeons and Dragons title that has been released to date. That's just my opinion. Anyways, let's get on to our monster of the week. And I figure since we're talking so much about Baldur's Gate 3, we should probably talk about a creature that shows up in Baldur's Gate 3. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't it be interesting if we talked a little bit about mind flayers? It's been quite a few episodes since we started, so I'm almost positive we haven't spoken about them before. But if I have, I hope I'm going to be able to divulge some different information today, because mind flayers are a mysterious enemy from the future, technically. The lore goes that sometime in the future, the mind flayers had enslaved quite a bit of humanity, the world, everything, the material plane, whatever. But the Githyanki rose up, and a lot of mind flayers escaped back into the past to attempt to evade the Githyanki, who many were able to follow them, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. The main point is they have a central design that they're trying to follow, a grand plan of sorts that involves them obviously becoming the supreme rulers of everything yet again. And that is crucial, that is central to the Baldur's Gate 3 plot narrative. Otherwise, I wouldn't quite go too deep into it. What is also important is the process of seramorphosis, in which an illithid is created, an illithid being a mind flayer. It is the essential plot point of Baldur's Gate 3 that your character is undergoing this process of seramorphosis, or maybe not. It's hard to tell. For the first act, it's kind of up in the air as to what's going on. It seems as if things have been paused for you, but you don't know why. Point being, seramorphosis is I've ruled it before as a week-long process where essentially a mind flayer tadpole is inserted into the eye of a recipient, and that tadpole feasts upon the brain of the user until it is fully consumed. The user dies, and the tadpole basically bursts into a fully grown illithid. It seems in Baldur's Gate 3 there has been ways to make this instantaneous, which is really interesting. And that is, like I said, it's crucial to Baldur's Gate 3 because your character is potentially undergoing this process and they don't know when they will become a mind flayer. And wow, the plot really goes off from there, let me tell you. So, what do mind flayers do? Well, in 5e, they have essentially the ability to eat your brain. And when your brain gets eaten, you die instantly. Surprise. So, how do they do it? Well, they'll first hit you with something called the Psychic Blast, or they'll hit you with one of their tentacles. You fail a save. I believe it's an intelligence save, and then you are stunned. If you are stunned by a mind flayer, good luck. you're in deep, deep trouble. Because then the Mind Flayer can approach you, grapple you, and use an ability to bite into you for an insane amount of damage. It's like 10d8 or something like that. And if it kills you, it eats your brain and you die. There's a lot that happens when you lose your brain, including the fact that you can't just be revivified, or I can't be raised dead even. I believe minimum it would require, it's a 7th level spell, I believe, to bring you back. Man, could be wrong on that, but it's definitely a serious drawback if you get your brain eaten by a Mind Flayer, as one might expect. So watch out for those Mind Flayers. And if you find a colony of them, I would personally advise you run the other way. But that's just me. All right. That'll be it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Dungeons and Dystopias. My name is Tyler Hapney, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening.